I didn't leave the house until the evening. First time all day. The lights along the street hadn't been repaired, so it was pretty dark. But for the past few months, I have only been walking in the dark. Andrew was waiting for me around the corner. He told me I looked good. This time, I believed him. I had been feeling much better that week. He pulled me to him and we stopped. His sweatshirt smelled of coffee and cookies. That meant he had gone to his parents' house first. His mother was always cooking something up. Suddenly, I felt sick. I felt hot. No, unbearably hot. Andrew stepped back from me. The look on his face, I had seen it before. He was scared. I looked at my arm. A red rash had appeared on my wrist. Luminescent lighting! The flashlight had turned on and it had been shining directly on me for several minutes. Hi everyone, I'm Abby. I've never liked horror stories, but it just so happened that I, myself, had become the queen of horror in our town. I want to tell you how this happened to me. My boyfriend Andrew took me to the mountains one weekend. Personally, I prefer the beach, but last time I went, I managed to get sunburned so badly that I still haven't recovered. It was cloudy every day. Plus, my stomach started hurting. So I spent the whole vacation with a blanket on the veranda while Andrew read aloud to me. Even then, I knew that something was wrong with me, but I didn't want to spoil the moment with my concerns. Plus, everything was so romantic. The night before we left, I couldn't get out of bed at all. I became extremely fatigued. Andrew was packing our things for our trip, and I was sitting in the dim bedroom. I had a bad feeling. I turned on the lamp and started reading. Suddenly, I felt a sharp burning sensation again. Sunlight wasn't coming through, but then I brought my hand closer to the lamp. My skin lit up again. I kept my hand there to see what would happen next. A rash appeared. What is happening to me? A few days in the hospital not only answered my questions, but also increased the number of my fears. I have a rare disease, porphyria. What does this disease do to my body? Hemoglobin doesn't form in my erythrocytes, which means they cannot carry oxygen. What is happening to my body because of this? Well, my skin is thinning out and it can't tolerate light. It cracks and burns. That means I may get a burn even when it's just UV light coming through glass or under a luminescent glow, like what happened on that vacation. What's more, my gums have become deformed and smaller, so my teeth appear longer like those of an animal. My cheeks are sunken, my cheekbones stick out, and my complexion has turned pale. Oh, and I completely forgot, in light, my teeth give off a purplish red hue. Does this all remind you of anything? Pale skin, protruding fangs, fear of light? Another name for porphyria is vampire disease. After several weeks in the hospital, they sent me home to wait for a suitable donor. For proper treatment, I needed a bone marrow transplant. Things got even more interesting after that. There were changes waiting for me at home. A tint was put on the windows to reflect ultraviolet light. All of the lamps were replaced by incandescent lamps, and there were some new additions to my wardrobe to absorb the sun's rays. I didn't get a coffin for a bed, as my younger sister had inappropriately joked. However, in the fridge there was... what? Genetically modified blood? Mom, what is this for? It's an alternative medicine. Who knows how much longer we'll have to wait for the operation? We need to try all options. It was boring to hide at home all the time. And then Andrew suggested I escape. It was really just a picnic trip, but without my doctor's permission. Granted, with all the necessary safety precautions. I was wearing a bunch of clothes, sunglasses, a hat, and a jar of blood in a picnic basket. Mom, look in the mirror, dear. Your skin has become completely pale, your cheeks have fallen. If blood helps with this, then it will be good for you. Helps? Mom, there are no vampires. Fine, I'll take it if it makes you feel better. We sat in the shadow of an old oak tree. I looked strange. I felt sick. Andrew was eating sandwiches, and I took the jar out of the basket. He choked. Today I'm on a special diet. I don't recommend it. We chatted, read, chatted again, and read again. Andrew made no attempt to hug or kiss me. Apparently, dating a vampire girl was not in his plans. I had already given up when he took my hand.
Ow! You bit me! You have fangs. Really, like fangs on a...
What can I say? The disease had changed me. So, we decided to postpone further picnics until after the operation, and in the meantime, meet at my house, which had become dark like a dungeon, but was still cozy. After all, my whole family and my boyfriend were with me. Even my younger sister wasn't annoying anymore, and her jokes were funny. She even persuaded me to do a photo shoot at home to document my new look. After all, soon I'd have a donor, and then I would recover and forget all about this time in my life. And you know what? It happened. I'm having my operation very soon, and I'll have a shot at a complete recovery. Well, I think that's it. Wish me luck, and I hope my story didn't scare you too much. Thanks for listening.
Hi, I'm Emma. I'm 18 years old, and I would never have invited you to visit me. I would be ashamed if you saw who I lived with. But one day, I decided that this had to stop. Here's what happened. That day, my new boyfriend Brady brought me home and asked if he could come in. I lied and told him that I had a lot of homework, so maybe some other time. But he said that he only wanted a glass of water because it was unbearably hot outside. I had to take him to the kitchen and give him a drink. I couldn't wait for him to finish drinking so I could quickly get him out the door before he saw. At that moment, there was a loud noise coming from the living room. It was as if something heavy had fallen to the floor, like a bag of plaster. Then, while breathing heavily, someone began slowly dragging this bag on the floor towards the kitchen. The sound was approaching. Brady looked at me nervously, then towards the approaching noise. Finally, the source of this strange sound appeared in the doorway. Meet my brother, Chuck. That's why I didn't want you to come in. He ate my last boyfriend. What the... is this person? It was a stupid joke, of course. I really liked Brady and I didn't want to push him away. And Chuck's appearance always scared everyone. He was just incredibly fat, and for the last few months, he couldn't even walk because he was so heavy. He either crawled or lied around. He had crawled to the kitchen on all fours and, embarrassed by Brady, froze in the doorway. He was only 8 years old, but he weighed nearly 300 pounds. Brady left with his mouth wide open in amazement and didn't even say goodbye. My brother, of course, is not to blame for anything. Since childhood, he has had a metabolic disorder. Until about 2 years old, Chuck seemed like an ordinary child, just a little bit bigger than other babies. But then Mom and Dad began arguing often, and it became simply unbearable at home, and they separated. Maybe my parents' divorce had nothing to do with it, but it just so happened that after that, our problems began. Mom didn't have time to monitor our diet. She was either working all the time or was deep in thought. I, too, wasn't up to the task of taking care of my brother. I was still a child myself. This is when Chuck began eating a lot of fatty and unhealthy food and started gaining weight rapidly. A year later, when he was 3, our mother couldn't even pick him up. At 4 years old, he became heavier than me, even though I'm 9 years older than him. Although Chuck weighed even more than some adults, he was, first and foremost, still a child. Huge, heavy, awkward, and mischievous. It was one hell of a mixture. It was actually really dangerous at home. I'm still amazed that our cat managed to survive. I was always afraid that Chuck would crush him in his arms or just sit on him by accident. He was like an elephant in a china shop. He always broke, crushed, or ate everything. When I turned 14 and my birthday cake was waiting for me in the kitchen, Chuck inhaled it in a few minutes. We found him covered in frosting just when I was coming to blow out the candles. All he did was irritate me, And maybe that's why I'm so ashamed now that my mother and I didn't take good care of him. Yes, we hid sweets from him and tried to control his appetite, but it didn't help. When he said that he was hungry, he needed to eat huge portions to feel full. We asked for help only when he began having trouble walking. After that failed date with Brady, I started taking his weight loss seriously and carefully followed all of the recommendations from doctors. I only cooked healthy food for him, and when he started losing weight and was able to walk again, I walked and exercised with him every day. He is now 9 years old and weighs 210 pounds. Of course, there is still a lot of work ahead, but I think Chuck and I can handle this. That's all. Thanks for listening to my story.